Yeah.
I couldn't sleep last night thinking about today and what I wanted to say as we open up the space. And I just thought about all the Wednesday nights that, we made work, we shared ourselves, and so I thought, okay, that's how I'm going to start. And so when we hit the 4 o'clock moment, I will begin and tell you that story.
Is it appropriate for a gentleman person to be here?
Absolutely. Why not?
Okay.
A gentleman.
All right. I just
you
want to
are.
make sure.
No, totally. There were we had men in Wednesday night. That's how I ended up getting married.
Is that how? I never heard the story. I mean, I was in your class. Do you remember? I mean, my God, Chase was, he's 33 and he was a new baby. Like he was a year old.
Yeah.
It's wild. Was our class on Wednesdays nights? Was the class on Wednesday night? I don't remember when it was, but it was.
Well, the original visual journal was on Tuesdays, and then the follow-up class, which went on for 30 years, was on Wednesday nights.
I was out of town, or I would have been there.
It was an experience.
I attended before my oldest was born, and she's now 37.
Okay.
Yeah. I think you were in that first group.
When it was just the visual journaling.
Yeah, in the first couple of. Did you go to UCLA to take that class, or did you come to the studio?
No, the first one was through UCLA, and then you moved it to your studio in Pico. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, you were early.
4 o'clock.
Oh, it's 4 o'clock. Thank you.
Go ahead, Sophie.
Okay. So I'm going to begin, and I'm going to start by saying that the history of this space that I'm offering is this Wednesday night class that I taught for over 30 years in my studio in Santa Monica. And it was kind of this community that brought a lot of different people from a lot of different walks of life together. So at one point we had a 14-year-old girl in the class. There was a long standing of a woman in her, I would say, late 70s. There were bankers. There were people just out of art school. There were many graphic designers. There were, people from various points of life. And we became community to one another. In those Wednesday nights, people went through divorces, they went through major losses. We talked about, do you shave your underarms? Do you laser? Do you not do anything? I mean, we talked about the craziest things and a little bit of everything. I mean, we gave each other referrals to doctors, therapists. And so there was a kind of intimacy through the making of something. And so that's why I encouraged you to come. If you wanted to, you could work. And then we would be able to share stories and support one another. And my hope is that you will. There's my friend Susan Hill.
Sharon.
Hi, Susan. I love your hair like that.
Oh, thank you. Yes, short and a lot of product. I love it.
Looks great. So the other iteration of the Wednesday night class really began when I was working on the dinner party, and that's how I know Susan Hill. She was the head of the embroidery needlework section of the dinner party, and we've stayed friends ever since. And then in the dinner party, Judy said, make up a class about, would she say? It was like consciousness raising through art. And that was the very beginning of the visual journal, really. And so it's this way of the magic of what happens when people come together and share their hearts and tell their truth, what they're, and it's like we get to laugh, we get to cry, we get to, just share what life is like at this moment. And so with that said, I open it to begin with, I open it to you guys. Is there somebody who has something that they feel that there's so much going on in the world right now? I mean, I could make a list of 100 things. So please share your story, make some work. I'm going to do a little embroidering while we talk. That's what that's what in my field is the Post-it notes. So if you don't want to start yet, I can start. You want me to start? Okay, so
Yes,
I'm going to start
please.
by talking about this piece. In 2022, I did a durational performance piece that was in Alfred, New York. And I've never been one who just likes having photographs as documentation of my work. I really prefer that they become more standalone works of art. And so you can see how tedious this is. It's like, oh, there we go, got it. Oh, and then I just pulled the thread out. It's tedious work. What can I tell you? It's very tedious. Oh, hold on. Work. But anyway, I like to make work that is about elevating the documentation. So at that performance, I can't talk and get my needle threaded at the same time, so you're gonna have to bear with me. This is kind of what it's like. We asked people, we had these Post-it notes that people could leave comments on the wall. And this is a small selection of those Post-it notes. And it's not my strongest piece of this documentation work, but it is, the content is really moving to me. And I think of like this one, I think of as like a drawing, or because I don't understand what it says. And at each one, I know certain ones of the, like this one is, I don't know if you can see it, but this one is from a woman who I spent probably 20 minutes with talking during the performance piece. And it was probably one of the most important experiences that I've had during making a work of art. And so she left a note. And so this is my way of celebrating people's participation in the piece. When you work on when you work on something 5 days, 5 hours a day, it can be very exhausting, but when you get the emotional support, it is really spectacularly supportive and energizing. So that's what I'm working on right now. But I think I'm going to talk a little bit about why I'm doing this. I mean, obviously I said in the emails and on Instagram that for me, this is for all of us, this is a really challenging time. I know probably like all of you or many of you, people who've, lost their homes. I know many artists who lost their life's work, their homes and studios, like they lost everything. And I don't know what to do. I don't know how, I mean, I send money when I can, when people say they need help. And I don't want to be a person who's like overwhelming people with concerns and reaching. It's like, I don't know what to do. And then there's, what's going on in this country and what's going on in this world. And it's just exhausting, and makes me incredibly sad. And as many of you know, my parents were Holocaust survivors, and it's a scary time because of the way I was raised, the stories that I heard about, the years leading up to the Holocaust. It's just terrifying. So I really just wanted to hear from other people and what you guys are wrestling with. I know. Hey, Lillian, go ahead. Just jump in.
Well, I just wanted to add to just what you were saying, because I too have been really struggling. I wasn't in an area that burned, but I was right next to it. So I also had to evacuate for 5 days and experienced a lot of what the people next to me experienced, but luckily I didn't lose my house. But I think I lost a piece of me through all of this and can't quite find my way back. And I too have parents who were Holocaust survivors. And I also was born in Germany right after the war. So the burned areas and the destruction have very much triggered me. And I had a dream the night before you sent the email, Sharon, and you came to me in the dream.
Really?
What?
And
That's
you were hugging me and holding me because I just couldn't take and metabolize what's happening. And we were holding each other and crying. And you told me just to stop in my tracks there and go forward. And so the next day, I got your email and I thought, what a mitzvah. And here I am.
Oh, I'm so glad you are. We have so many similarities, and I think that's very few people who understand things exactly the way we do.
And we danced together and done art together, but not for quite a while. So our journeys cross again.
I love that. I think so often about, you remember that time we went to early days of MoCA and there was that room that was like a light installation. Maybe it was a James Turrell, and the echo in there was like, the acoustics were just amazing. And you would drum and we would tone and dance. And that was one of my most favorite memories.
My drumming is quieted, but I'm bringing it back.
Good. We should get together.
Yes.
I have a
Hi.
story. Hi. I don't live in Southern California. I live in Northern California, but I have a strong connection to LA. And I doubt if you'll remember, Sharon, but I was in, I think it was the 2002 Art Mentor Program.
I remember you.
Yeah, at Santa Monica College.
Yeah, you made me a scarf.
That's right, I did. That's right. And so I have at that time, I was living with my mom after my father died in the Palisades. And my kids were born in the Palisades on Lockman Lane. Well, they weren't born there, but they came home to that house. They're old now. It was a long time ago. So after that mentor program, I moved to Northern California. And I'm an embroidery artist. And all my work is autobiographical, and it's all about telling stories. So I have several pieces right now in a gallery in Walnut Creek. And one of the pieces that they chose for this show is the first piece I ever made, which I started right after the mentor program. And I haven't really dived into that piece as much as I am now because I haven't shown it for a really long time. But at the gallery has a lot of docents, and we did a talk. Some of the people who are in the show gave a talk for the docents, and I should show you the piece here, but I don't know if I can. So it's a shirt. It's a men's shirt. My first piece I was going to make was my father's life on one of his suits. He was had a clothing store in Beverly Hills, Lou Ritter.
Oh,
You might be old enough to remember it. Yeah. And he was a very colorful person. And so I was going to embroider his life on one of his suits, but I was too nervous to do it. So I decided to do kind of a sampler on one of his white shirts from all my notes that I had put in my journal with ideas that I had to put on this suit. And it turned out to be, and on the sleeves, I wrote out his whole life story. And the show opened right when the fires were going on. And I was looking at the shirt and reading what I had written. And there was the map of Pacific Palisades with the house that is gone now. And then the first house my parents lived in was on El Medio. That house is gone. And I had drawn the map of the houses. I totally forgot I did that. It was a very moving experience to see that at the same time as you were all experiencing the fires. But I had so many memories that week that just wouldn't stop. So I'm connected, even though I'm not there.
Well, I love that you have that piece to really be an anchor.
Yeah, it's a very cool piece. I hardly knew how to embroider then. I mean, I did all that text with 6 strands. Now I never use 6 strands to do text. And yeah, so it's a cool piece. I really like that piece. I also have a piece at the Skirball. I embroidered my father's love letters onto my mother's wedding dress. And they acquired that piece several years ago, and it comes in and out of their permanent collection. So
congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. So it all started with Anne Marie Carlson and the Art Mentor program, which to me was an amazing, amazing program. And that year was just really a great year.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was a really good year. Let's see. I just wanted to add one thing that for me, embroidering brings me a lot of stability and a lot of peace. So, and I work a lot on, figuring out my pieces and doing research and blah, 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 blah. But once I'm embroidering, then it's really what keeps me sane.
Mm-hmm.
What keeps me sane.
I totally get that.
Yeah. I have to do it. It's not even a question. Like, will I do it? No, I have to do it.
Yeah. Mary, I see that you've raised your hand. Go ahead and start.
Oh, I did. Am I unmuted?
Yes.
Oh, okay. The first thing that I'd like to say is that I think that Sharon is the most perceptive human being I've ever met. And we met fairly recently in that I'm a a newcomer to Los Angeles, but not a newcomer to the idea of fire because I have written. I'm a writer, a longtime writer, and I've written a novel called Who by Fire that I'm actually posting in serial format on Substack, and I'll put the link in to the Substack. But I think I've gotten Sharon on Substack, although I can't get her to be very active. But it so happens that although I wrote this novel and it's in serial format on Substack, it's about the fire. And so when I experienced the fires for the first time here in LA, I was a mile from the Sepulveda fire. I mean, we were in evacuation mode the entire time as soon as the Palisades started, meaning you think about what you have to take and you don't take your appliances, you take your underwear and your medicine is in the trunk of the car, okay? And I just would like to say that I'm a grand supporter of Sharon's view of the arts and her collaboration, and she's reinvigorated my own work in a very special way that only she could explain. Thank you for letting me say something.
Thanks, Mary. Bridget, I see that you, and then I'll get to you, Richard.
Me now, or there was somebody before me?
I think Bridget had
You
her
can go
hand.
ahead.
Oh,
You
Bridget?
can go ahead, Richard. Go ahead.
Okay. It's interesting for the last while, and I'm not sure how long I would put that. I've been wrestling with life, and life seems to be winning so far. It's like trying to hold a basketball, and you can almost get your hand around enough of it to hold it, but then it slips out. And it's understanding what this whole dance is that we're all doing and trying to stay awake and conscious enough to appreciate it, understand it, and make sense of it. When things like the fire come along, it's interesting how kind of like a root with loose dirt, everything shakes off that isn't quite important enough. And you get down to the nitty-gritty of what's really important to you. I know a bad example of, I guess, the dance that I've been in, that we've been in. We're watching the television with all these people losing everything. And we're trying to imagine, oh my God, what, looking around. So all this is gone. There is nothing. Am I still here? I guess I am. There's that part of me that is still alive and breathing. And well, we had a guest who came down when the fires started. And she decided to help us because she couldn't go visit any other friends. She decided to help kind of organize some things around the house. And after she left, Arala said, you know that mirrored wastebasket? Where is it? Well, it was in our friend's room. And I said, well, and she probably put it in the bathroom or moved it someplace. We could not find it. We finally had to call her and say, where was it? She said, oh, it had some cracks in it and it looked kind of crummy, so I threw it out. And Rala said, that was my parents' wastebasket. I've carried it for all these years. It is the only thing I have that my parents had together. So
now let me add, it was that mirrored kind of wastebasket from the 50s, and each panel was pristine except there was one crack in one of them, which I was quite fond of the crack. It had a memory to it. It was part of my childhood.
So we're trying to, I mean, this was days of God, that thing is gone. Now, our friend is a very conscious person. She immediately went on eBay. She found another mirrored wastebasket, had it sent, but she felt terrible about it. But for us, looking at one object that meant something and the devastation it caused, my dear wife, and trying to imagine what it really is like, where your house is melted, the car is gone, everything is gone.
But I will say I gave it full voice. I'm sorry to interrupt, Richard. Well, we're married. What could I do? But the point is that I was living two lives. I held the one object in one hand, and then I imagined the depth of loss in the other hand. And I gave full voice to the mirrored wastebasket. I gave myself permission to feel what I needed to feel and mourn that wastebasket, not diminishing that piece because of what was happening around me. Everybody lost their home. This is just a wastebasket. And it was very interesting to have an opportunity to hold both simultaneously without judgment and self-loathing over a damn wastebasket, but to
It
recognize
held garbage. That's what she lost. A garbage container, and it was killing her.
that being said, I'm on the other side of it, but it was so fascinating to be in that space of grief and hope, really simultaneously.
And for me, continues to be the question of how to remain as conscious as possible to the wonder of everything that's here.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Would you tell people what you guys do?
I don't know what we do anymore. Which
Are
day
you
is
starting
it?
up, are you starting up the things at the Improv?
At the ground? No, we finished a
Groundling.
year of Let's Story at the Groundlings. We're going to continue on. It's morphing post fire into a whole other opportunity, which is such a yearning, which is to just listen to the community that we inhabit.
Rolla came up with a thing called the power of play. We use improvisation as a transformational tool, and we are on staff at the Simonton Cancer Center because one of the first things that gets thrown out the window when people find out they have cancer is play, laughter, and having a good time. Dr. Simonton, radiation oncologist, said, no, that's critical to your health. Play is mandatory. It is not elective. That's what he said. And we happen to provide the Cancer Center with a play program. But we do that also just with anybody who has a particular challenge. It's a lot of fun.
But the storytelling is what really excited us, that fed our soul, which is such a simple, ancient ritual.
Yeah.
And I want to continue. I don't know if it'll be in that venue, but most certainly we're interested in supporting the community and just listening to stories. It's so important to unburden a heavy heart. I mean, this is just science. And I just felt so compelled to just set up a card table, make a sign that said the listening lab, and just come and talk. I will listen. I will not therapize. I will listen. And that's really what I want to do, is just listen to people's stories and help in that small way.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. All right, Bridget, I think that's an appropriate, you're the next one.
Yeah, so 5 weeks ago tonight, I evacuated, and then the next day at 3 p.m. I got photographic evidence that the house was down. I had to go straight to Palm Springs from my house because I needed internet. I had meetings starting at 8:30 the next morning and couldn't hand the meetings off to anybody, so I needed to be somewhere that had internet and power. So I had to go far. I went straight to Palm Springs to friends. And So Sharon, I've just landed. I don't know if you can see, but I've just landed as of after 24 hours ago. I have an ocean view. I'm in the middle of an alpaca farm. And you might be able to see some alpacas. Maybe not. Maybe you can see them. I don't know if you can see them down there
Yes.
in the distance. But I was in an Airbnb from hell in Pasadena for until this weekend. So and if you don't know somebody that's dealing with this, it's you spend many hours a day on fire related things. You have to learn a lot of things, and you want to share what you learn with your friends because not everybody's learning the same thing. So there's a lot of learning and sharing that's going on. So it's kind of a full-time job. And speaking of my job, I told Sharon I would be here after 5 because I need to work, but because I've landed here in this incredibly beautiful healing place, the adrenaline that I've been on for 5 weeks finally left, and now I'm just like completely depleted. I mean, so I'm finally about to start truly healing, I know. And so I just had to stop working because I couldn't function working, and said, wait, this is the best thing for me to do is go here, meaning here now. And Sharon, I just wanted to say, you always have a way of like piercing my heart. You said that you feel so bad about the artists that have lost everything. And I immediately thought I have 3 friends who lost their entire life's catalog of work. One was out of town even. He couldn't even, and they lost their 2 cats. Their house sitter couldn't manage getting the cats. So they lost his entire life's work. But he immediately started drawing and painting. Anyway, my first thought when you said that was feeling for them. And then I was like, but when I came to this call, I wanted to be like watercoloring or drawing or something. And I was like, oh, I don't have any art supplies. It's not that I can't get them. I just didn't think of getting them. And God, I haven't had time for this. Would have been the first time that I would have had a moment to do something with art supplies. So nothing's bad or wrong about it. It's just, but when you said the artist's entire life, I do not consider myself an artist in any way, shape, or form. I did a line of greeting cards many years ago and illustrated both my books, but I'm not an artist. I draw very childlike stuff. I'm not an artist. So, but when you said that, I remembered things that were in my garage, like a draft of a children's book that I had done like 20 years ago, and I meant to come back to it, and scripts that are not on any hard drive anywhere. All kinds of art was in my garage. And it's one of those things where I talk about this time as like that in the middle of whatever room I'm in. I wrote a post about this, that I feel like in the middle of every room I am, including this terrace where I am, there's a black box theater. And I end up walking in and out of that black box theater all day to see a black and white movie of the devastation, but splashed with colors of things that I lost. And that's what happened when you said that. I went to see the children's book cover and, everything. So, I guess it's going to continue for a long time walking into that little movie theater. It definitely is less and less every day. But the thing about the trash can really resonated with me too. It's just, Richard, I think you said you don't grab, or one of somebody said you don't grab, appliances, but I actually stood in my hallway with my hands on my hip, staring at my new Dyson stick, vacuum that I had gotten 4 days prior. And it was my favorite vacuum ever in the history of my life. And I considered putting it in my car, but I have a small convertible Audi and there's not a lot of room and I needed to put the top up. If the top is down, I can put a lot of shit in it. But when the top is up, which I needed to have it up because of the 100-mile-an-hour winds, uh, I could not fit very much in there, but we had a conversation, the vacuum and I, for a while. Whether it should come with me. But I totally resonate with the broken trash can.
This is like a silly thing to say to you, but if you would put or text me your address, I'd love to send you some art supplies.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And
So
I really,
sweet.
if I can support you in any way in getting some of this out through your creativity,
Yeah,
that's what I did for 30 years. So I'm here for you.
that's great. That's great. Yeah, I've started writing. That's one thing. But yeah, I definitely should start working with my hands. It's great. Thank you.
Yeah. I think we're all sending our hearts to you in a big way.
Yeah.
Lorraine?
I mean, that was so heartfelt. So thank you for sharing all that, Bridget. And Ryla, it's just that, I mean, I've came to this point in my life years ago that everybody has a story that's like worth hearing. And so there's no reason to like have any judgment about like what somebody looks like or whatever. It's like, and so everybody has amazing stories of how they have gone through this. And I mean, there's so many things that people said, like Sharon starting out of just all the conflicts that we're all in and how to proceed and what to do. I mean, like, okay, of course, I have friends who've lost everything, but I wasn't really affected except emotionally. And so it's like, okay, I'm filled with so much guilt. It's like every day I wake up with the world on fire and it's like, oh my God, if I haven't done something, then I'm like a horrible person because I haven't like called my senator today. I haven't like sent my postcards. It's like, it's really exhausting to be filled with just all the conflicts that we're going through of not knowing how to be effective. And then you think, well, I should just do some self-care. So should I go into my studio? Well, what's that about? I personally have spent a lot of time in the Santa Monica Mountains for my peace. Oh, that's not there to go to. So it's like it's exhausting to be filled with so much conflict right now.
Yeah. I think a lot of us are feeling that. By the way, they throw anything, emails and letters and that all goes in the trash. The only thing that helps are phone calls. Just
Really?
FYI.
Strategy.
But on the day of since we're segueing into a whole other world, on the day of the inauguration, Terry and I watched Rebecca Solnit do a gathering, like you could, instead of the inauguration, you could watch her and her people. And everything they said was they want us numb, horrified, and so we have to throw parties. We have to throw parties, we have to throw dance parties, we have to find ways of expressing our joy, laughing, and taking care of one another. And that's really why I'm here today. It's like, we have to take care of one another. Robin.
I am I guess I would say proud to be representing Asheville, North Carolina, and a whole slew of cities. Um, 71
Can I
cities
just
went through hurricane.
can I just listen from over here? It's already started.
What's that?
I think somebody was not muted.
Oh, are we okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear? This is all Hurricane Helene on September 27th. And there are 25 counties and 71 cities and 70,000 damaged homes. And oftentimes you find that when there's a need or a desire to share your story, and the person next to you has it twice as bad. They lost their parent or their child or their cats, or they didn't have insurance, and so you end up not telling your story, um, you know, and trying to feel grateful, which you do. But it's just an interesting mix. You might not think it in North Carolina, but every repairman who comes to my house, probably 80% of them are Hispanic. And they're very talented, they're sweet, and you just ache for what they may be going through. It's astonishing. I just wouldn't have said it in North Carolina. So I had 3 trees fall, and one was right across the living room, the beam of the roof. And so I'm in my 5th month, and I spend 3/4 of my day exactly what you're talking about storm related. And I think self-care can go right out the window. It's like you're too exhausted to brush your teeth, much less anything else. It's just demanding. And for me, I'm 78. I've been writing a memoir about my family who 20 members went in the very first wagon train to Oregon on the Oregon Trail. 3 years I've spent, and I think, oh, okay, now let's take 6 months out, minimum 6 months. Oh, my yard was damaged in 3 sides, so maybe a year, So, and it's 78, and you look at it and you think, well, okay, let's hope so, fingers crossed. So I was telling Sharon, I said, I tell people I'm signed up for the class as a crash course in learning to love what is. And I'm not getting higher than a B, but I'm still coming to class. So there you go. One of the things that has helped me, which my sister, who's here in Asheville, suggested, I don't know whether this will be backwards. It's Silver Linings, yeah. And it's a book of writing and drawings and all sorts of things, but they help. It helps to have that. I'm on my fourth book now. So almost one a month. So it's very nice to be with people. And Sharon, I did go through a divorce with Sharon. I was with you on and off for 16 years. Yeah, and there are just so many ways that you helped me. But you gave me, I was in such a pressure cooker, and you gave me let off the steam every single Wednesday. So you avoided the divorce didn't come as quickly because of Sharon.
Uh-oh.
That's okay. That's okay. So these are my words for 2025. Repair, replant, replan, replenish, rejuvenate, review, renew, rejoice. I don't sign up to all of them every day.
Can I ask you a follow-up question? Silver linings, were those your drawings and words, or is it a journal, or was it,
It's
is it
mine. It's mine. It's just an
I
empty.
loved your artwork.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm sure that's a Sharon inspired thing too. They're from Amazon, but what's nice is they're different sizes, but they're very heavy paper, so you can watercolor on both sides.
Can
And
you
that's
put
what I
your,
want.
do you have a website with your art on it? Can you put, you don't, Sharon, can you get on her about that? I mean, like, that was really,
Yes. There's quite a few people who need websites.
Go on
also-
Substack. Go on
Wait.
Substack.
Substack, that's
Put
good,
your
right?
artwork on Substack.
But also, I'm taking requests for cities I should not go to because I just want you to know I was in Boone for the effing hurricane, Boone, North Carolina,
Yeah.
which got hit really hard, harder than
Yeah.
they ever expected. And then my house burned down by the fire. So put in the chat where you don't want me to go next.
Lillian,
I'm gonna have to go because of work, but I wanted to offer, I have a very nice rec room downstairs because I'm in a condominium complex. If you need to hold a space, we have a lot of tables. If you need a space, if we
Thank you.
are gonna come together or anything.
yeah, thank you. That's
And I'll
beautiful.
be in touch with you. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye,
And
Lillian.
Brenda, my heart goes out to you. I'm so sorry.
Mhm.
And for everybody's losses. Bye.
Trying to see everybody at the bottom. Hello. Anybody have a story they want to tell? Susan.
Hi. It's just so nice to be here. And really so nice to be sitting ostensibly in a circle in the new way that we sit in circles since COVID. But the blessing is to be able to, it's allowed us all, me in particular, to stay in connection with people who are in different places. And I lived in Los Angeles for 40 years, my favorite, best years with the most amazing ups and downs. And I live on the coast of Maine now in a town of 6,000 people that genuinely has a white church with a big white steeple in the center of town, that genuinely has a bell made by Paul Revere in the steeple that rings. And it's really quite fabulous to hear that bell ring on Martin Luther King's birthday. It's just because you can hear the bell all over town. And it's on the coast, so there's a harbor. We have a harbor and lobster boats and fishermen who will come and plow your driveway in the winter. But I mean, part of what I'm thinking about is just place. Certainly when I heard about the fires, which was right away on the news, I just sat down and watched in real time. I would find myself watching until 3 or 4 in the morning. And just because I couldn't look away, and the sense of devastation. Because everybody was losing something, truly. If you love the city, we lost something totally. And I'm really just so grateful for this connection, for your instinct to connect. And part of what I like, sort of listening, and that something I've experienced is just kind of as people check in, what's crossing, what's meeting what from other, places. And when Lillian spoke, And she said that she had had a dream where Sharon came to comfort her. That just seems so right to me, that in this just devastating time globally, that spirit seems to be up and moving and making connection that maybe was asleep or stuck. And I mean, that's what I'm experiencing at the moment. And I take that as hope. When I was in Los Angeles, I would go every month to workshops that the Reverend James Lawson Jr. did at Holman Methodist Church. He was Dr. King's strategist from the 1950s. They came up with the lunch counter sit-ins. They came up with the freedom rides. He did the marches. He never wanted the limelight, but he had, as a young man, had been in India and was impressed by Gandhi. And when he came back to the United States, he met Dr. King, and that's the path that they were on. And so he used to train us, Saturday morning for free. And part of what he says, you cannot be governable. When it goes against you, you cannot be governable. You cannot agree. And so you speak up and you hold your values. And so when someone spoke about the phone calls being effective, that's good. I'm glad to know it's the phone calls that are effective. So, and I just appreciate it. And I'm loving listening to the stories. I mean, this sort of gathering of this place for story. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Any other? Please.
Just wanted to piggyback off of what Susan was saying, which is I'm just so grateful to be here and hear everybody's story. And thank you so much, Sharon, for doing this. It's my first time ever being part of one of your performances, part of the conversation, part of the dialogue. And I've seen you on Instagram and I followed you because I once took a class at SMC, an art class. I can't even remember what art class it was, quite frankly, but I did some art classes.
I think it was 34A.
It was 34A. That actually rings a bell. Oh, wait, do you remember me?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that was years ago, almost like probably over a decade ago or around there, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I stopped teaching in 2017.
Yeah, the years after I took your class or after that, I'm back in that period again. So I'm glad to reconnect with you and reconnect with all these artists, not artists, performers, life living people. Yeah, the fire, it's like, just a month old now, but I was close enough to the evacuation zone in Santa Monica, and that first night I just remember looking up the street and seeing all the flames and staring, like morbidly staring at it, just being like, this is absolutely unreal. And I thankfully had somebody, my aunt had a place just down the road, which was safer. It felt safer. And I just remember that night kind of joking, nervously laughing with my mom about like how, the evacuation zone seems to be getting closer and closer and closer. And, the winds were, I've never experienced anything like it in my life before. It was like, oh my gosh, the wind just blows the wrong way, or if it goes a different way, or if it moves direction, then we could maybe lose everything. And so to err on the safe side, we packed our go bags and we got out of the place, because I wouldn't have been able to sleep that night. And it's been, yeah, I felt kind of bad, or there was a pang of guilt when I like left town a couple of days later. I was like, I just got to get out of this city. The smoke is so heavy, and it just feels like toxic. And I felt like I was abandoning my city. But I spoke to some other friends, and they were like, no, you do what you got to do to feel safe and secure. And so I did. I got out of town for a little bit, but now I'm back, and I'm kind of going around and around in the story. But back to the beginning, not fire related, but kind of grief related, is that I'm back in this art making, engaging phase of my life after a 15-year career in Hollywood, which I started up after doing your art class and kind of being like, I have a real job now. And then this past year, it's almost been like a year, a little bit over a year, since I decided I didn't want to go back to working for the visual effects industry in Hollywood, because it was eating my soul and all my time. And yeah, just becoming conscious of like what I want to do in my time on this earth. And I just feel honored to be around all of you people that, I don't know, are doing things, continue to do things, artists, because I've never been like, oh, I'm an artist, I'm a working artist, or I have sold something, or I'm in a gallery. But hearing everybody here is like, oh, well, I'm just gonna keep on going, because I don't know, maybe one day I'll have that courage, that confidence to keep on pushing down this path of making art and share it with more people. And that's my story.
I'm a passionate supporter of that, as you know. I just, I think that's one of the horrible benefits of all this turmoil and tragedy, is that we have to look. I think, Richard, you must have said it, when you talked about your wrestling with life, it's what really matters. What is it that, everything could be gone, that we're, like living our lives trying to maintain, but what really matters, And I think that it's so easy to get swallowed up by, of course we have to pay our bills and we have to do our, be responsible adults, but we can't just abandon ourselves, and the parts of us that feed our souls. That's for sure. It was funny because when we were kind of on the far edge of being evacuated, but everybody was saying, put together your go bag. And I was like, okay, all the documents of my parents' stuff, because I'm trying to get dual citizenship, just in case things get really bad here. And like all that paperwork that's not scanned, which I'm gonna get all scanned, and like my medicines, the things I was working on currently in my studio, the rest of it I was like, look, I can't, it's either save nothing or save everything. And so I just was like, okay, I need the work that I'm doing. And, so it was my current pieces and my hard drives, and that was it. And because that's what matters to me. I didn't care about my baby pictures or of course I would afterwards. I know I would afterwards. But in the moment, it was like, this is what's most important to me. And people thought I was crazy. Yeah.
If they thought you were crazy, they didn't know you very well.
That's true.
Sharon,
Yeah.
I'm concerned about something that I'd like
What?
to give a voice to.
Please.
People's health, their mental health, their emotional, their physical health. And because I work in healthcare, I'm concerned, which is why I feel the yearning. And I'm so glad that you invited us to participate in this, because this is so important. The ability to speak, to tell one's tale. And I'm concerned because year one, I'm gonna have a card table with that's me listening. And I don't feel like it's enough. I feel like I am not doing enough to help. And it concerns me because I understand how devastating this can be, under the under. Like here, and then there's this other part that it's a crapshoot. There's a lot of uncertainty. And I would like to be a touchstone of something. And I don't even know what that means. I just yearn to help, and I don't know how. And I want to just start somewhere. I want to do something. And I have knowledge. I recognize that the issues of stress, uncertainty, a narrative that we're all in the midst of, if people don't take care of themselves in some unusual way through this whole process, our health will be compromised. I mean, collectively, in the zeitgeist, there will be a diminishing in our immune system. We will have lots of subtle changes because we're not having a voice on the things that are not the business part. Was it Rob who was talking? The person after me that lost everything.
Bridget.
Bridget, I knew it would be. Bridget was talking about how the full-time job of just dealing with all the stuff of this catastrophe. But what about the other part? Where does the emotional piece get handled? I guess I'm just stuck with feeling that things are going to get worse before they get better. And I feel like I need to help on some level. I need to do what I know how to do, which is to listen to people's narratives, but also to recognize that that's just the beginning. That's helping to unload the energetics of the catastrophe. But what happens in 6 months? What happens as people fall through the cracks, if they do? What happens when somebody doesn't have a voice? One of our friends in Altadena, they lost their studio, their house remained, but they were in their neighborhood, and his name's Alan Wasserman. And he wrote me a note, and he said that a man just came up to him and said, would you mind if you got me a biscuit and a coffee? And of course it was a joy for them to do that. But there are people that aren't being served, that are not connected the way we are in this group. And I struggle with that. I struggle daily with how I can do something. And I don't know at this point.
Yeah, I just want to answer a couple of things just coming from my perspective. One is we're only on like day 35, right? So we're very early on in this process. This is going to be a long process. Second thought I had was our world's one gift is that our worlds had to just get really slowed down and really simple fast. Mm-hmm. And that's a gift, that, I mean, I needed that, we were just, most of us, I'm talking to a lot. I have a lot of friends who lost everything. And I know Alan Wasserman too. I'm so glad
Mhm.
that he only lost his studio. I didn't know that. Um, so, but there, yeah, like the underserved. I mean, I still, one of the huge, heavy, heavy things in this landscape for me is that when I first moved into my neighborhood, I had a meeting for earthquake preparedness so that we could set up whose house would be what station and who was homebound, whatever. And when it was such chaos that I didn't check in with the woman who I knew was homebound. None of us did. And I found out just last week that she lost her two cats. And she got out. Her son came and got her. And so she's alive. But her two beloved cats, her, soulmates,
Mhm.
perished. And I'm like, what the fuck? Where was I? What was I doing? But we were all in such shock. So anyway, bottom line is we're very early. We're only on day 35 we're still in shock. I'm still in shock. We're all still in shock. But for those underserved people, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think that anything that any of us can do to reach out to somebody who doesn't have, I am extraordinarily lucky that I posted on Facebook actually GoFundMe's that need bumping. My GoFundMe doesn't need bumping. I have a million friends, but there are people that aren't on social media that have no family that
Yeah.
theirs need bumping. So there are, so one thing that you can do is on GoFundMe's. I mean, I don't know, does anybody ever do this? I don't know if this is an idea that you can send a message and say, is there anything besides money that I can do? I mean, you can give them money, but message the campaign. And the idea is go to the campaigns for fire victims that are like 10% or less than 50% funded. You can you can search within the GoFundMe for the fire related GoFundMe's and just find the ones that are underfunded. And then there may be a window of opportunity there, right? And
Yeah.
and there's also housing places and stuff that are housing people still. Lots of things are popping up now.
Right.
Lots of creatives like yourself and you can just reach out to one step at a time, I think. Anyway, I'll stop talking. Sorry, I
No,
went on and
thank
on.
you. That gives me it gives me great hope. And let me say this. I want everybody to hear this definition because it's really juicy. And this is the one we use at the Cancer Center. Hope is the belief that desirable things are attainable regardless of the remoteness of the probability. I just think that's a really good definition of hope.
Yeah, I want to speak to what you were asking about. Because I've been Terry did this thing where I don't know if you follow him on Instagram, but he opened up a shop and he's giving everything that if people buy anything, he's giving every penny he'll divide it between two families. One is the manager of the old condo we lived in. He was about to retire. He'd lived in Altadena for 33 years and lost everything. And the other was this artist who lost everything. And it's like, and he posts their, GoFundMe thing so people can just give them money if they want. But I think that most of you guys, and tell me if I'm wrong, Bridget, are in survival mode. And so the idea of attending to their emotional wound might be available, I don't know, many months from now.
Yes.
And it seems like the work that you do would be such a blessing in those communities, especially I think Altadena and Pasadena and that whole area. I just think that down the road, maybe you could find a church or someplace that
we're going to the synagogue. That's where I'm starting at the Chabad. I started there because the Palisades of Chabad burned down, and I know how
ours burned down too. You know, ours burned down in Pasadena too, the synagogue. here.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Sharon Trudy Strobel's synagogue burned down.
Oh, wow.
Her home synagogue. So Sharon and I know a Holocaust survivor. I interviewed them both for my podcast and they became friends. She also is a embroidery artist. Amazing. Trudy Strobel. Anyway, very tragic. Hers burned down too. Yeah. And there's also kids, teenagers. I mean, it's kind of endless. But yeah, I mean, I ran into I came up to Santa Barbara to stay at a friend's house. They were going out of town for 4 days and they live right on the ocean. And they offered me their house for 4 days and I took my dog to the beach and I ran into a friend from Altadena. He is a very famous therapist. And somebody said to him, the three of us were talking, and the third woman who was not a fire victim said, are you guys handling your grief? Are you dealing with your grief? This was 11 days in. And he was like, fuck that. I'm in denial and something else, some other really hilarious. He was like, we'll deal with that when we can deal with that right now. Yeah. I mean, but I mean, I do something for my self-care as much as I can, but yeah, I mean, somebody said it really articulately that sometimes it's too exhausting to brush my teeth and I don't do 2 minutes. Anyway, don't let my dentist hear that.
What's your podcast? What is it? I'm curious. Richard, are we on?
I haven't done it. I haven't done it in a long time. I mean, I did it. I was going to start it up again this year, but who knows? I think my priorities are going to be very, very different this year. I'm waiting for my priorities to float up to the top. I was almost done with a children's book at the end of the year. Who knows what's going to happen creatively for me this year, but it was called Superhero of Love. And I interviewed Sharon twice, actually. Superhero of Love podcast. I wrote a book called Superhero of Love, Heal Your Broken Heart and Then Go Save the World. So it's out of that. And then Sharon also, you should look for, Sharon did this event, Love Forward Talks that I did, which is like TED Talks for the heart. And Sharon did an unbelievable, she was the first person I called after the 10/7 thing, massacre. And it was born out of that. And she did an incredible, incredible piece.
Thank you. Trying to see people's faces. Mary, are you talking to us or are you talking to Dell? Are you talking to us? You're muted.
I was talking to my husband because he's trying to figure out what I'm going to do about dinner, and he's going.
Let's get down to the basics.
but I just want to say again that I haven't lived here that long, and then being so close to the fires has been such an incredible experience that Rahia, what you've been saying about. I classify myself as hypersensitive. I actually have a chapter in one of my books that's called Hypersensitive, but I really experience it in my body. And I think we need to recognize what Bridget's going through here, that her body is being affected. Even if you don't realize it, you go to sleep and you wake up and you've got a pain somewhere or something that you haven't experienced forever. I've have a condition that I haven't experienced for 30 years that has resurfaced. And I just want to thank you all for being here. And I want to say to Robin, put your work on Substack. I know it sounds crazy, but you just need to look at it. I sent you a direct message because it's an amazing place. It's free. And and they love visuals. Everyone loves visuals and it might help. And it might help not only you, but a lot of other people. And I have to say goodbye, but I just want to say to Sharon, you are in my heart, and Bridget, you are in my heart, and Rahia, everything you said, and Robin, everything you said.
Just
and
so you
Erica.
know, my name is pronounced, it's like a cheer for LA, Ra and La, Rala.
Rala. Okay. Well, I just read that wrong. I'm
That's
sorry. I
okay. It's a
apologize.
weird name. I will agree, but I just wanted to let you know what it was.
So profound, though, what you said. So kudos to you. I'm going to say goodbye,
Bon
loves,
appetit.
and thank you. And I hope to meet all of you soon more again, because I'm new. I'm new here, and this has been a strange experience. So,
Well,
bye.
Bye. There's a
We need to
number of
work
you.
on our welcome to LA packages.
Yeah, there you go.
Sharon, I just have to show you this. This is my notebook from class 8/20/91. It's sitting right here on the floor.
I love that. Love that.
It's the whole thing is you.
I've got a
Betty.
few of those.
You do? Hi.
Eddie, you wanted to say something.
I do. There's so many things I want to say, but now they're all mixed up in my head. I was a student of Sharon's in the early 90s, I think. And Rala, I don't remember. We must have gone on different nights or
Yes,
something.
but it's nice meeting you now.
Hi. And I would retake the class like every 5 years or so for a stretch there. And Sharon changed my life. Thank you. And it's so nice to be able to be here and see some of my dear old friends. You get to be so connected when you do work like this together. And I'm okay. So here's my New Year's resolution that I started, before Christmas even. And I said, I wanted to find my people. I wanted to find more of my people, and I wanted to hang out with them. And soon after I sort of started saying that out loud, I have met people that, I didn't know we were of like minds. And then you find them and you go, oh, thank God you're my people. Because I live in Idaho, and I was telling Bridget, don't come to Idaho. Sorry. It's very red here. Very, very, very red here. It didn't used to make any difference before 2016 or so. And but so we are in my county is 25% registered Democrats. And I don't know who all the rest of the people are. And then also half of my county owns weapons. So it's like, well, I don't know what I'm doing here, but here I am. But I love that I've got a chance to come and be in a circle because I'm so far away now. And I love the idea of finding our people and spending time with them. I think that's really important. Like Susan, I moved far away, and when the fires happened, I mean, my heart just like breaks for the whole city. I mean, I know that I remember after the Northridge earthquake, everyone just in my little neighborhood in Santa Monica, we were all like shell shocked, all at the same time. And that's what's so hard, when everyone at the same time has this big, heavy thing to work through. So even if we're far away, there's so many people that care about what's going on. So I probably have 7 more things to say, but I'm going to stop there.
My favorite line of the day was, and I don't know who those people are, but that was hilarious, Betty. I was laughing out loud over here, muted, thank God.
Well, I have some good news. I've been invited by LACE, which is a nonprofit arts organization here in LA, to do a performance in the middle of May. And it's really like the first time where somebody came to me, I didn't go to them. And it's going to be called "And Then This Happened." And so the whole theme is endurance, which I think I'm pretty good at. So
oh my God, Sharon.
It's free, so you can come. Anybody who wants to come and is in LA, you're welcome.
You're gonna let us know, of course. I mean,
Of
those of you
course.
mailing list now. Okay, good.
Yeah, definitely.
Is it just one day or is it?
One day. One
Okay.
day, and it's 3 parts. So there'll be a spoken word person, then there'll be me doing a performance piece, and then the last little bit will be an artist who does music. So right now they're talking to Paul McCarthy.
Oh.
Not the Beatle, the other one, Paul McCarthy. So we'll see, but I'm excited.
Yeah. That's great. Congrats. That's great.
It's really
Thank
great.
you. Thank you.
Lucky,
Say that again.
very lucky LA.
Thank
Audience will be very lucky, very fortunate.
It's nice because the venue, it's at a space called LA Dance Project, which is like fully equipped with lights and sounds and video projectors, and I'm ready. They have staff. It's really going to be a nice venue. So.
And that was such a great sentence, Sharon. I have some good news to share. Like, we don't have enough about these days.
And I know, and I think people are afraid to share good news. You know, like it's like little guilt. And all I remember is, I think one of my Instagram posts I talked about when my mom passed away, and we were sitting Shiva, and this woman who was a kind of a friend came to Shiva, and she's always cracking jokes. And so she was like, there are these 3 women in a retirement home in Florida, and they see a new man come in, and one asks the other, he's new, do you know anything about him? And one says, he was just released from prison. Really? What did he do? He killed his wife. So he's single? And it's like, it seems like such a stupid thing to do. I needed to laugh.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
So good news is in that same category.
And we do hang back. It's interesting that you sort of implied that there might be a little guilt. People don't share their good news when we're surrounded by tragedy. And I think that it's important energetically to stand and share. I mean, deliver what is the truth. And good news is part of living. But we do. I know that reticence. It's subtle. It's a subtle reticence. And then I make the decision to speak, but I'm very aware of it. And I find that so fascinating in a city, in a community. Yeah.
Saying something nice is like a single match in a blackened out room. It throws so much light. When I was working on Full House, so you got 10 writers sitting around a table, running down everybody in Hollywood. And the subject of the day was Milton Berle. And I'm sure everything they were saying was true, but he had done something very nice for the girl I was dating at the time. And I had learned something about gossip in Judaism, and you got to stop it. So I said this nice thing, and everybody shut up. It was so nice and relieving, because something nice about Milton Berle, and there are a lot of people who have wonderful things to say about him, I'm sure, as well. But it was just so nice to see the power of saying a nice thing and how it could shift the whole energy of a room.
Yeah, that's a great story. Wow. All right, I'm going to stitch until somebody else speaks up.
You know what I did the other day?
Wow.
I Zoomed with a friend who lives like 10 miles away because I had a runny nose and she didn't want me over. And we got out our mending, and I had all of these sweaters with moth holes in them, and we sat for I think it was 3 hours on her free Zoom, and we just I sewed up all these holes everywhere. But it was really pretty nice. We didn't have to go anywhere. Like, I didn't have to go to Maine or anything to see Susan. And we got the same good visit in. So I think, I found that out during pandemic that Zoom was like essential, right? But
Yeah.
but now, when people are spread further apart, I mean, I still think it fills that hole.
But that's another thing. I think when Rollo was talking about mental health, I don't think we've fully recovered from the pandemic. So this is sort of like a 1-2 punch. I think people were beginning to move onto autopilot with a world that looked similar to the world we knew before COVID, but it wasn't quite the same. And I don't know that we've all, or whether we will ever get back to where we were.
Oh, I think things changed forever.
Yeah.
And I mark time that way a lot. Things happened before or after pandemic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And if it's strong for us, it's got to be strong for kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole schooling thing. One of the techniques that I remember and forget was that I would adopt an attitude of positivity, whether or not I felt like it.
Mm-hmm.
So it would sort of be a fake it till you make it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I do laughter yoga, so I was used to that, fake it till you make it. And it actually did help. There were times I have felt like this is the 5th month and every single day is full still. And I felt like I've been concentrating really hard for 5 months. And so there are times where this I think, okay, smile, time to smile, time to, and lighten up. And it has helped me. It has helped me to think. And there's no reason it should come naturally with what you're going through. People say it doesn't matter if you lost your home. The whole area is grim. The whole area is mourning. The whole area is, and that's true. Yeah.
Dr. Lee Burke at Loma Linda is in the lab he's done research on smiling for years. And Norman Cousins was one of my other mentors in my work. And he, for those of you that don't know, but he laughed himself while using comedy videos. And Bridget, I need to know who the dog was, name, rank, and serial number. That dog, I mean, I'm in love. Is it a standard poodle?
She's a golden doodle. She's hears you talking. This is her.
I just want to smush. I want to kiss that face. But that's good medicine. I'm glad to see you have a dog. That's the best medicine yet.
Yeah, I had an older dog who I knew only had probably another year of her life when this dog came. I do kind of a remote healing kind of modality, and she was a puppy. It was born not thriving, and I worked on her, and she was thriving. And then she knows you're talking about her, so she's talking now. So I did work on her, and then the owner said, well, you should adopt. Don't you think you need to adopt her? And I was like, absolutely not. I have an older dog. No way. And then I got this very clear divine download. She is a divine blessing. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh crap. I'm now going to have a puppy. So I had a puppy and an older dog, and she has this is where she proved she's as you can tell, she's a blessing, obviously, but
Mhm.
during this fire time, we've actually never been separated. She's either, except one night when she spent the night at a friend's house, she's talking now, but she, she was either with me physically or in the car waiting for me. And she's now an expert at waiting in the car. So talk about divine blessing. She has been incredible.
Well, thank you for her particulars because I was just so curious. She's just fresh. But I didn't mean to interrupt, but I wanted to speak to the smile because it's super juicy. So I do an exercise called Smile Power for a very specific reason. You don't even have to smile for a reason. Just turn your lips up and your body doesn't know the difference.
That's
And
right.
it's really cool because you get that hormonal cascade that you get when you laugh. And a smile, as Norman used to say, is a step in the right direction. So smile away and you don't have to have a reason to do it. It really helps. It literally picks up the heartstrings. I mean,
I like to say that it feels like the corners of my mouth have strings attached to my heart. And when
yeah, and the science. I mean, this used to be woo woo. It's not anymore.
Oh,
it's not
I
even
know.
woo.
No.
It's not
No.
even woo. It's real. And I prefer the woo, but I'm so grateful that the science bears out what I've been, hanging on by my nails for years. And yay for resilience. I will say that, and for perseverance.
I think, when you talked about your concerns about are you doing enough or in the right way or could you do more and stuff, as I age, I feel like I got to do what I do well, what I do best, or what I need to learn or something. I don't want to, we used to talk about don't shit on yourself.
Oh yeah.
The woulda, shoulda, coulda, it takes so much energy to self-doubt that way.
You just said something beautiful. Should, SHOULD, spell shoulder, SHOULDR. So if you're excuse me, if you're shooting, you're stressing out. Well, it will land back here for sure. And it's so funny that you said that because, again, thank you, Dr. Lee Burke. His research has substantiated. Stop the shooting. Seriously. I mean, that's his words, not mine. But we do it. We as humans feel we should do more, or we should do something other than what we are capable of. And,
and particularly now, because we're seeing it at every side, at every corner, all the way around, one thing or another thing or another thing or another thing, much more than before. Yeah.
Anybody have anything to say? Sometimes it just takes a little push.
It's very cool watching you work, Sharon.
Yeah?
Yeah, I love, and I would never have thought of stitching on Post-its. It's freaking genius.
I wish I could show you the other two pieces that I finished that are the photographs of me and that woman having a conversation, two panels facing each other. It's really.
Wait, is it behind you? Oh, you can't move yeah.
It's
You can
over
send it
that
to us
way.
later.
Yeah, I can send it to you later. It's actually, Taya, is it on the newsletter?
Yeah, I can get it and share my screen.
Okay, do that.
I've seen it someplace recently.
Yeah, I think it's on the newsletter.
With the blue line between you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. It was on something of yours very recently.
Email, she said.
Taya is the secret organizer behind the screen. She makes my life work. Ooh, I broke a needle.
Oh no.
Good luck.
Is there, okay. I was gonna say, Susan, is there a prayer?
If you were Japanese, you would have a very special little, like a pin cushion that has rice in it, and you would stick it in there with the other broken needles. And on a special, oh, there it is.
Oh,
Oh, yes, I saw that. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Oh, yes, amazing, Sharon.
On a holiday, you would take it to the shrine with the other stitchers.
Okay.
You would bring your broken and rusted needles to the shrine.
Maybe I'll bury them in the backyard. I have a few of my mom's embroidery needles and they're all rusted, but I don't want to throw them away.
Is Sharon holding the?
Oh, I'm scared that would grow a thorny bush.
Then I'll plant it near the rose bushes. I wish you could come visit and see our beautiful, we just tore out our whole front yard and all the grass except for the rose bushes. And we planted dwarf fruit trees. Everything's going to be, it's going to be Farmer Terry's territory. It's going to be all edibles and native plants and fruit and veggies.
And bees, hopefully.
Yeah, he's already planted lavender and the bees are just going crazy around it.
Sharon, where are you now?
Where the Mormon temple is?
Yeah, where my junior high is. Emerson was right.
Just south of the Mormon. I have a view of the Mormon temple in my
Oh my goodness.
my front door.
Neighborhood.
I'll have to think about where that is. I must know.
Sharon,
It's kind
keep
of
your
like
eyes
Santa
open.
Monica. Keep my eyes open.
Yeah, because we want to get out of Woodland Hills and that's the neighborhood I want to live by you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I love that.
I love it.
I love that neighborhood.
Now it's going to be a hard time to find anything.
I know, but hey, I'm a magical thinker.
Yes, there'll be a place for you.
I hear Maine has some nice places.
Yeah.
Here and there. Yeah.
Susan once sent me a photograph of her. She opened her front door inwards and you saw the impression of her front door in the snow that was all the way up to the top.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It is very beautiful. And it's one of the most still pristine states. Maine cut down a ton of the big forests that are here, huge forests. But they built the great big trading ships. I live in the area where the big merchant ships were built. And they carried Maine lumber all over the world and Maine granite all over the world. They're Maine granite in the steps of the Los Angeles City Hall.
Oh.
There's Maine lumber that helped build San Francisco. But so the forest came down, they're growing back, the air is very clean, the water is clean, but we're dealing with PFAS, the chemicals that got dumped into the land. in the 1950s as was a recommended fertilizer. We're dealing with the Gulf of Maine is warming faster than any other ocean, ocean on the earth. And looking at interesting, difficult conversations between the fishermen and the people who are concerned about the extinction of the right whales, because the whales get tangled in the ropes that are needed for the lobster pots. So, and like Betty said, I don't know that it's all red, but unfortunately, we keep sending Susan Collins to Congress. There was a Proud Boy rally here after January 6th.
Oh God.
Make any assumptions when you stand in the line at the little grocery store and how someone thinks about the world. But it is, I mean, I love oceans. I love oceans. And the Atlantic Ocean is just wild and tempestuous and beautiful. And there's something about sitting on a little tiny dock that just kind of goes up and down in the water because it's suspended. And you'll be the whole coast, the coast of Maine is something like 3,000. If you would stretch it out straight, it would be 3,000 miles long, but it's crenellated because there's a little tiny cove everywhere, all the way up the coast. And you'll be sitting in a little dock on one of those coves, and there are gigantic evergreen trees that come right down to the water. So you can smell water, salt water, and evergreens at the same time. And it's amazing. But there are trade-offs. It's not the city. There is no good Mexican food here. On the other hand, also, I mean, it is a place of makers. I mean, people here have been resilient for generations. Nothing goes to waste. Everything is used. Everything has a story. I'll trade off coming and visiting your orchard, and then you come and visit all the sheep ranches and the llamas and the alpacas and the women who then spin the fleece into wool. And
wow.
And the knitters who then make extraordinary things.
You're on our list of travel. We want to come to see you. We want to go visit a friend in Spain and a friend in Bristol in England. So you're like definitely on the list as soon as
57 minutes on a plane, if we're still flying on planes, from New York.
Wow.
Susan, you're stitching too? Can we see what you're stitching?
What I was stitching, or what I had was making, which I just kind of loved with this, is I'm making, can we see this? Are some like bags that have medicine designs on them.
Wow.
And I was thinking as people were talking, oh, these are catching the stories. This is so good. And I was going to try and figure out how to do the cross piece for this circle, which will be the third time I've tried to figure it out. But I couldn't pay attention to this. Listening. So I got out some old, this is punch paper, which is like a Victorian material. It's paper that has holes punched as a grid into it. I don't know if you can see that. Oops,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
so
The
I don't
light
have
actually helps.
Yeah, oh good. Well, and I just make up designs as I go. But I don't have to think. So that's what I'm doing.
Betty, are you doing art too?
Am I doing art?
I was Betty, Betty,
Betty.
but Robin, are you also?
I am.
Oh my God.
Yeah. That's why I'm
I'm
looking
just
down.
finishing, I'm finishing my mending because it was all still out right there. So I went and got it to see if I could make another shirt
What are
or
you
two.
mending? What are you mending besides hearts, Betty?
All just a bunch of wool shirts because it's cold in Idaho and they all just get holes in them. It's crazy. So once I fix them, I didn't want to wear them because they will get worse, and so they've just been piling up and piling up. So that's what I'm doing. Nothing creative at all. But
That's
You-
very,
Would you teach me how to mend?
yeah, really. Can you have a class on that? Because please.
Oh, it's not pretty. It's not pretty. My friend was saying, "Oh, you could embroider on top. Come and use my floss." I gave away all of my embroidery floss to my daughter in a fit of downsizing. Now I don't have it anymore.
That's what we call our fires. A fit of downsizing. Just kidding.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
I love gallows humor. It's my favorite. Oh my God. Robin, what are you doing?
I colored a drawing that I did inspired by Joan Baez, who draws upside down. So I drew upside down with my non-dominant hand and my eyes closed. So the people, this is a couple discussing the world.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God.
There we go. Yeah.
I love that.
Non-dominant hands, eyes closed. You did that?
Yeah, that's from Sharon's class. I do that all the time. Yeah.
Sharon.
And I have to write with my non-dominant hand too. Yes, it's true. I'll show you one. Yeah. This is another of the Joan Baez ones of doing it upside down. You really, it's not just like a scribble though. When you're you start with the person's head and go down to their feet and then come back up. So this is another Valentine couple.
Oh.
Cool.
It's kind
So
of
they
weird.
they're so in love, they lost their heads.
Yeah. Yeah.
They remind me of John Lennon's drawings as
Yes,
well.
they do. Yes, there's a lot like that. Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
One of the exercises that we would do in the creativity classes I loved it, Sharon, that you always started with there was some sort of ritualized way to enter the work we were going to do.
I agree.
But you would ask us to write down a question with our dominant hand and then answer it with our non-dominant hand, which meant your brain had to wake up because
Right.
it was automatic. And I still do that. It's wonderful.
I agree. The writing, I mean, I've often said I didn't think it worked. I just thought it was, a little more clumsy and awkward. And then you hear a whole room of people writing, they're writing with their non-dominant hand, and it's not the usual, and it is good, so this is an angry one. This person over here says, where am I here? Don't, won't, go, no, no, no. And then this one fitting right in with today says, this way with a smile. And so if you look, if you look at the original drawing, there's a gray fat line on both
Yeah.
of them. That's the eyes closed scribble. So a friend said, I want to see your original scribble of how you made that. And so I do that now where there's a different color, and then I'll switch over to pens so that you can see. People like that to know that. Yeah.
That was cool. Is anybody else secretly creating?
To be working?
Is it, I just said, is anybody else secretly creating? You know, like where we can't see their creations.
I'm doing some
Yeah.
granny squares.
Oh,
You can't see the color of the yarn, but it's all this old yarn that I have that I always say, I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it. And then, I don't know, recently, like kind of post fire, kind of just, what am I doing? I'm just like, I'm going to use that. I'm using it now. And I want to make a shirt, you know, like an old, cool, I say old, I'm like, this is not my, I want to make a 70s granny square vest, cool thing, and bring it back and wear it and be proud of something that I made and wore, and walk proudly in the streets of Los Angeles wearing something that, I don't know, is handmade, but it's like a mix of yarns, like this really super colorful. There's like teal and red and blue and like purple and fuchsia. And then I'm mixing it with this gray, black, like fuzzy kind of, you know, nice yarn, all just inherited from different places. But
We need more light.
yeah, I know. I'm like, wait, maybe I can. The colors are, I really like the color of the yarn. It's like, let's see.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
oh yeah.
Definitely.
oh, yes.
So, and then I'm kind of doing,
Those
you
are
can't
cool.
really see, but like this kind of checkerboard print of yarns. And I was just gonna do, I'm still relatively new to crochet, or I haven't, not that new, I just don't do it all the time, but I'm gonna do a bunch of different patterns of granny squares, not just like the same one. It's just gonna be like a hodgepodge of different patterns, and then I'll put them all together and make a little tank top shirt thing in time for summer.
That's super cool.
Secretly creating.
Like that, don't you?
Yeah.
Eric, I'm going to send you a link to my favorite crocheter.
Okay.
I'll put it in chat.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, absolutely. I always love looking at, I mean, there's just so much great
Have
stuff.
you ever looked at freeform crochet?
That's something that's like, you know, I have the list or the idea journal, and there's one that just keeps on bubbling up to the surface that like I haven't been able to get rid of, but I also haven't done yet, which is like this idea for a top or like a bikini, like a crochet bikini, but free form, kind of like sea life patterns, like different sea animals just kind of like collaged onto the body, which that's my idea, that I, you know, maybe after I finish this thing, I'll go to this free form kind of just, 3D, and I don't know.
You get those like almost like shell forms that go round and round, and
Yes, exactly
Yeah.
that. An octopus for some straps. Octopus
oh, that'd
arms.
be great. That'd be awesome.
It's gonna
You
happen.
could probably sell those. Honestly,
I
that's genius.
Yeah, you know, if I make one and it looks really awesome, I'll get like my sister or something to model it, and I can put it onto the Etsy store or just share it on Instagram and be like, anybody want a sea life crochet bikini? And it's like, yeah, funky and cool. Thanks, Bridget. Thank you for the vote of confidence.
Absolutely. Who needs the entertainment industry?
I don't need
you got
visual
it.
effects, that's for sure. I don't
Yeah.
need visual effects. Too much, too much.
Well, and you could just, even just the tops would be cool with a pair of jeans or.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
My friend is a potter and she made these mugs that I gave to everybody for Christmas, which were octopus and the arm, that what is it called? The handle. The handle was an octopus arm.
Oh, I
So
love
you had
that.
oh my God. It's so sensuous and cool and like really cool. Yeah. And not hard, like soft, oh my God.
Does your friend, is there a way, can I see a picture of this?
You know what?
Or does she have a website?
You know what? She does, she used to be a designer in the entertainment industry and now she just does in her home. She has, she makes a bunch of pottery and then sells it. Generally, she does pottery all year and sells it at Christmas. But let me see. I don't think she does, but let me see if I have a picture at least.
This is my, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing with my life, but that sounds like I would like to do that. Make things and sell them, just not because I want to sell them, just because I want to make them.
That's the best way to make money, right? Is like when you're just love doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm currently working on. And that's just finding out what I love to do or what I want to do for my, keep on calling it my second act, because the first act was cool, but it left me very, 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 very tired and burnt out. I'm somebody that got burnt out by Hollywood life for sure. It was like, oh my gosh. And I'm so grateful for it. I don't know, I got to meet so many amazing people in that act of my life. Maybe that's the second act. Maybe I'm on my third act.
They say that the most successful people are people who change their careers, frequently. Like they know when it's time to leave and when they want to start something else.
I like this. Sometimes I wonder if I didn't leave when my body was telling me to leave initially. Like I got pretty far in and I think my body cried out a few times along that way. And then finally I got the message. So I'm so happy, just so grateful that I've been able to take some time off to let my body and my mind come back to just like crocheting, or I did like a painting that I was like, I haven't done a painting, or I don't think I've ever even really painted anything before, like, I mean, what did we do in that 34A class, Sharon?
It was all non-painting practices.
Was
It
it,
was
was there like,
it was the mapping project, and there was a Prove You Exist and
was it at
lexicon.
the airport?
Yeah.
Okay, I remember that one. Yeah. Oh, I think I did I remember a piece that I did from that, and it was very much, it felt very raw and very like, yeah, like from the like part of I've been doing IFS therapy. That's my new favorite therapy modality. And I feel like it's been really helpful in coming back to myself or getting back to myself. Yeah, that was a good therapy.
What does that stand for?
It stands for Internal Family Systems.
Oh, right. I've heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah, internal family systems. And I just read great little graphic novel where the graphic novelist, it's called Past Tense. And the graphic novelist was talking about how she started off in like traditional therapy, and then the therapist was like, would you like to maybe try IFS? And she was like, I don't know what that is. And then so part of the graphic novel talks about her kind of introduction and her journey with the IFS framework for therapy, which was, it was invigorating and inspiring. So I've been, it's like, you know, it's a constant, it's daily practice, therapy, you know, work to uncover and discover and yeah, reconnect, connection. But yeah, man, I think it was, yeah, part of me was definitely even screaming out in that 34A class. So I'm happy to get back to making art, creating things.
I think I just finished this piece.
Oh.
I like to sit with them for, you know, a little bit, but see if you can see the whole thing. I think it's done. This piece was too faded out. I couldn't see it. You'd have to really find it. And this is so strong. I wanted to just put a little edge around it and make it come forward just a little. So it didn't compete with this, but had its own voice. And then the plan is to find brocades and put a band around all the pieces so that they have like a frame of fabric within the piece. I still haven't figured out how to, like, I don't think I want to frame it. I have to think about all that. What do you think, Susan?
I'm totally wishing I could touch it, stand right there. I love the duality of this is fine art and it's also so ephemeral. That it's image and text, all of that is so beautiful. I was laughing when you said you wanted to make this a little stronger, so you decided to outline it because there's that famous phrase from the Dinner Party Studio. That looks good, Sharon. Now outline it in black.
O-R-I-C-A.
But I was, and just, I mean, certainly that framing that with brocade is going to be gorgeous. And the stitches, I would think the stitches that will hem it there will be gorgeous. And then, and maybe, I don't know, then you'll figure out whether it wants a frame, another frame or not. It's what the eye wants. It's what the eye wants. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, this is my, let me see if I can do this. Close your eyes if it, you know, makes you insane. How do I get those? Oopsie. That's the next panel right back there.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So in the show in Alfred, there was a sculpture called the Red Lotus. And I knit a spiral that had these two chairs, and one was the listener and one was the speaker. And the listener was not to say anything, and the speaker could tell anything they wanted. And so this is a mother and daughter, and the daughter was talking to her mother. The mom told me later, you know, about something that happened when she was like 5 years old and that had really disturbed her. And so they were both crying when they came out. what I love about it is you can see the fabric through the photograph. And then there'll be the embroidery of the knitting on top of it.
Wow.
Mm.
That's my story and I'm sticking to it.
Mhm.
And they're stuck together by their story.
Yes.
That's
Yes, exactly. Anybody know what time it is?
A little after 6, your time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you guys for coming. Is there something that anybody wants to say or want to say in closing or?
More, please.
Sharon, I see you're recording it. Is it going to be able to watch? Lisa
Yeah.
K was telling me that she was working tonight. Because
Oh,
I said,
yeah.
"Where are you?"
I don't know how we're going to figure it out because it's going to be long and, you know, a lot of digital somethings, but I think we'll probably put it on the website somewhere so that people who want to see it, maybe we'll call it like a community things and because I know there are people who wanted to see it and will want to have their, you know, share their thoughts.
Right.
Feel close,
Zoom makes it really easy, I think.
right?
And I don't know, they're not that big. I don't know what they do to them.
Okay, good. Well, I can always put them on YouTube and just
Learn. Oh, that's
link
true.
on them.
Okay, I told her I'd ask.
Well, and I'm good. And I'm thinking, Terry said to me, you know, maybe it's time for Wednesday nights to return. So I'm thinking about maybe once a month doing this basically where people can work and talk about whatever they want to talk about and we'll see. I have to sit with it.
Let us know.
I will for sure.
Really enjoyed it. Thanks so much.
Very much.
Meeting everyone.
Yeah. I think what you've given us is during some times, the rough times we encounter, there's a visual now of support, not just support in Southern California, but support in Northern California and Maine and North Carolina. And that helps. It's strong. It runs deep. Yeah.
Yeah.
So glad. All right, everybody.
Thank you,
Okay,
Sharon.
Sharon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining. Love you.